Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Brock is on a plane, as you guys can see, so he asked me to take over for today and share a message with you guys. My name is Christian Tiessen. I've spoken with you guys many times before, but it's been a while since I spoke. Usually speak every couple of months, so I'm excited to be here today. Brock is on his way out to Nashville, I believe. So he's going to be meeting with Jim Morris, setting up the event. If you guys are not going or have not got your tickets for the Nashville event coming up in January, make sure to do that. We had an incredible time at Key West. There was a ton of great speakers. Diane is looking forward to that event. I'm so excited to see Diane there as well. I know she got a lot out of it. Everybody in the room got a lot out of the event in Key West. So if you guys haven't got your tickets yet, make sure to do that. Jay, I'm sure will have a link she can put in the chat. But what I want to do today, as we kind of let people filter into the room, is I want to ask you guys a question, a little bit different than Brock usually asks, right? We normally put where we're calling in from or where we're logging in from. But I want to ask you guys, if you are new here, if this is your first time on the show, I want you guys to put in the chat, what made you join the show? What made you come here today to take the time to commit 30 minutes to this morning mindset motivation show? And if you have been here multiple times, if you're one of our regulars, one of the people that are on every day, or even if you come just a couple times a week, I want to ask you guys to put in the chat, what brings you back to this show every day? Why are you guys coming here? Paul says, me speaking. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you always. What brings you guys back to this show? What do you get out of it that makes you say, I need to sign in at 8:15 every day or whenever I can, whenever the schedule allows? What is it about the show that brings you here? Community, says Chad. Dan says she's steady, gives her great insight. Rosario says the stories. Motivation. I learn something new every day from Jacqueline. Great. That's awesome, guys. So there are a lot of people. One of the things I've noticed is that we've got kind of this core group of people that come back again and again and again. And so I was just curious, what is bringing people back to this show? Because obviously we want to bring that to you every day, but we also want to bring more people to the show. And so I just want to encourage you guys, if you get value, if you get motivation, you get the community, to invite more people to come on this show, right? One of the best things we can do to build community and to build relationships with people is show them a better way to live life, right? A better way to get better. And I believe that this show is one of those ways that we can do that. Everybody's putting fives in the chat. The old standby, right? So today's talk, guys, I'm going to talk about the old saying, get 1% better every day, right? This is going to be a take notes type of day. It's going to be tactical. I'm going to give you a framework to actually implement getting better every day. So I want to ask you guys a question. I'm going to ask for a little bit more engagement here. If you were to get 1% better every day for 1 year, how much better would you be after the end of the year? Do some quick math here. 1% better, 365 days. How much better would you be at the end of the year? Jennifer says her daily workout goal, 1% better, 365, 365. Awesome, guys. Well, it's a little bit of a trick question. I'm going to give you the answer in just a second here. But I do want to tell you guys that if you guys stay to the end, I'm going to put in a link in the chat. I put together an ebook. It's a 10-page ebook, super simple, but it's basically notes, my notes from the day. But I want to encourage you guys to take notes yourself, because when we take notes, we engage more of our senses. And when we engage more of our senses, we're able to retain information better and apply that information, right? So if you're watching, you're using your eyes. If you're listening, you're using your ears. But when you write, you're engaging your body as well as your mind to take those notes. So I want to encourage you guys to take notes today. Rosario said math. I'm a math nerd, guys. I build spreadsheets for fun. So that's kind of, one of my jokes I always tell people. But here's the other thing I want to do. I want to give you guys permission to have a desire to have more in life, right? To have better relationships, to have better spirituality, to have better finances, to have better health in your life. I want to give you guys permission to do that. See, I think a lot of times people kind of get guilt or they feel anxious about wanting more, but I just want to open that up. And if I may be so bold, I want to give you permission to have desires to grow and to expand in your life. Expansion, I believe, is good and noble. It is something that we are called to do as human beings, is to expand and constantly grow in all areas of life, right? But what I've found is that most people believe that the key, the path to having more is to do more, right? It's to do more. So in real estate, this is do more calls. This is get more listings, right? Close more deals, do an extra exercise, do an extra rep at the gym, right? Most people believe the key to having more is to do more. And it makes sense because in order to have, we have to do, right? But the problem with this is that we get tapped out. We run up on physical limitations, material world limitations. See, we can optimize our time, for example, but there's only so much we can optimize because we only have 24 hours in a day. We run up across material world limitations. And that's not to say that we don't optimize and we don't try to make our time as efficient as possible. But when we do this, the do is inherently limited unless, if you're taking notes, unless we become more in our doing. Right? So I love this principle from Myron Golden. He's one of my favorite speakers on YouTube. I know Chad's a big fan. There's a few fans in here. Put an M for Myron in the chat if you have listened to Myron Golden, if you are a fan of Myron Golden. Anybody. Diane will look him up. Diane, he's incredible. Incredible business speaker, teaches through biblical principles. So incredible speaker, right? So Myron discovered a principle, and he says he discovered it. He didn't come up with it because he found it in the Bible, right? And so he said this principle is a formula that's laid out in the Bible to have more. And the principle and the formula is this: you have to be better to do better to have more, right? So in order to have more, we have to do better. But if we just try to do better without becoming better, we're going to run up on those limitations, right? And so going back to that 1% better, Jennifer, she did the math. You spoiled it, Jennifer. I was just coming up on it. So in order to be 1% better at the end of a year, it's not 365% better, which is 3.65 times better. It's actually over 37% better. Why is that? Well, because it's compounding. It's not linear. As we get better, in order to continue that 1% progress, there's more. So if we start at like 100, the first 1% is just one. But as we grow and grow and grow, that 1% becomes a bigger amount every time. And so those results compound over time. And so I say this to say I love the spirit of 1% better every day, the concept behind it. But the reality is, it's just not possible for a long period of time. It is possible to continuously get better, but that 1% is just not possible for a long period of time. It is at first, because when we pick up a new skill or we try to do something new or we try to improve at anything, the results kind of look like this. They go very steep at first, but then they start to smooth out, right? And so we kind of, I'm looking at my screen so I can do this so you guys can see. It kind of smooths out, right? And it smooths out, and over time, we get diminishing results. And the interesting thing here, guys, is that at the beginning, whenever we're new at something, if you've ever noticed you've tried to pick up a new skill, it's at that very beginning when we're accelerating super fast, we're making great progress. That's when it's fun, right? Because we're seeing that progress every day. We're seeing massive progress. At first, we might get 100% better in one day, right? So we see that massive progress, but when the fun starts to slow, when those returns start to diminish, that's when most people stop. That is when most people switch to something else, right? And this is what creates the mediocre mini, right? Because a lot of people have no problem putting in work, learning, getting better when the results are coming fast. But as it begins to slow and as it gets harder and more boring to make measurable progress, people start to drop out. They start to slow. But this is where the progress is made, right? This is where we can turn from one of the mediocre many to the exceptional few. So are you guys tracking with me? Is this making sense? Put an E in the track in the chat, excuse me, if you in your life are committed to becoming one of the exceptional few. Put an E in the chat. Awesome. Cool, guys. So I want to lay out one more principle real quick. I didn't know if I was going to have time for this, but I think I will. There is a book. It's incredible. I've been recommending it nonstop. It's called The E-Myth. Got my light here. The E-Myth Revisited. If you are a business owner, I recommend everybody reads this book. It is an incredible book, super easy read. I read it every single year. Um, but the premise of the book is this, guys, is that there are different roles within a business, right? And the technician is where most people get stuck at. The technician in life and in business is the doer, right? It's the one that's setting up showing appointments. It's the one that's going to the showings, that's sending out the emails, that's writing the contracts, that's negotiating. It's the doer, right? But again, like we talked about earlier, we're kind of limited when we're stuck in this technician role. And so the top tier is to become the entrepreneur in the business. The entrepreneur's role is to grow the business. It's to strategize on ways to grow the business. It is to constantly look for ways to improve. And so I want to encourage you in your business and in your life, it doesn't just apply to business, is that as we grow and as we get better, it's very crucial that we move from the technician role up to the manager role. Think about like setting up your calendar, right? Managing the dues, but then finally into the entrepreneur role, right? Because it's not enough just to make more calls. It's not enough just to do more activities. It's not enough just to manage our activities better. We actually have to become better. This makes sense. Give me a nod if you're on. Yep, cool. So today what I want to do, guys, is I want to lay out a framework for actually becoming better, continuously and repeatedly. Now, this is a framework. I know I've mentioned the E-Myth and I've mentioned Myron, but I use these principles to create my own framework called the Closer framework. I'm going to walk you guys through that. So if you're taking notes, this is something to take notes on. Write this down. Jennifer, the book is called The E-Myth Revisited. The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Incredible book. So let's walk through this closer framework. The first, the C, stands for commission, right? So we think about outcome. If we're not talking business or real estate, we think outcome, we think result here. This is the result of our actions. Every action we take in every area of our life produces results, right? So this is going to be the starting point that we start at. Makes sense. The next step is the L, and this stands for log. Now, it is very important if we want to make constant improvements that we document our actions and we document our results, right? This allows us to be objective. So it's very easy to just remember our results from yesterday or maybe today, but you need to be able to document and look at your results, not just from today, but from weeks past, months past, and years past. So when we log, this is the L, when we log, instead of looking back a month, 2 months, 6 months, and say, I think I did okay, I can't really remember what my actions are. When you log, you actually know how you did. You have an objective measure. And what we measure gets improved or allows us to improve. Doesn't automatically improve, but when we measure, it allows us to take the next step for improvement, right? So most people understand this. We've all heard we need to journal, we need to log our numbers, but very few people actually do this. And I believe that one of the reasons for that is that people don't want to face the reality of their outcomes. I'll let that sink in for a second. I think the reason most people do not log their results is because they don't want to face the reality of their outcomes or the reality of the actions that got them to their current outcomes. But facing that reality is the only way to improve and move forward. So my goal here is to show you guys that it's not only good, but it's also crucial to log your results and log your actions, right? My hope is that by showing you this, that I will be convincing enough to where you actually start to do this on a regular basis in every area of your life, right? So the next is the O. The next in closer is the O. Now, the O stands for observe. We need to be able to not just have a result and log that result, but we need to be able to look back and observe our results and take an objective view of the actions and the results. And so again, when we do this, when we observe, we can look back a week, we can look back 2 days, we can look back 3 months and say, this was my results at the time, and these are the actions that got me there. And here's something I want to point out is that we are going to see both good and bad. And I was reading a book, the book I'm reading right now, again, I'm going to give all the book recommendations today. Flip the Switch by Coach Michael Burt. Many of you have heard of him. This is, again, one of my yearly reads. But he was talking about activating your prey drive. I won't get into that today. But one of the things he said is, do you have negative self-talk? And one of my problems when I read, guys, is that I will read and I'll read sometimes a page or a paragraph or a sentence, and it just gets me to think. And I read really early in the morning, and often I'll sit there and just think for 10, 15, 20 minutes. So sometimes I only get to read a page when I set out my morning reading. But I was thinking about this negative self-talk because recently I've been having a lot of negative self-talk. And when we hear negative self-talk, we often think that or hear that we shouldn't have any negative self-talk. But I started to question that and I thought, is negative self-talk ever okay? And I would say the answer is yes, it is. Actually, it's critical with some caveats. See, Myron Golden went back to this. He says that, going back to Myron, he says that life is all about duality. You know, if I asked you guys, have you ever seen a one-sided coin? Has anyone ever seen a one-sided coin? No, no. What about a one-sided piece of bread or a one-sided piece of paper? No, I see some no's. Why not? Why have we never seen a one-sided coin or a one-sided piece of bread or a one-sided piece of paper? Put that in the chat. Why not? Guys, they don't exist. There's always two sides. And it's not only that they don't exist, it's that they cannot exist. Because it is the nature of a coin, it is the nature of a piece of paper, it is the nature of a piece of bread that for one side there has to be another side. And so in life, every single thing in life has a duality to it. There's a good and a bad. And so the key is to understand how to have negative self-talk in a constructive and, this is paradoxical, in a positive way. So let me lay that out for you real quick. It is okay to have negative self-talk when we are talking about current results and past actions that got us to our current results. This is being realistic. This is being objective. It is not okay to talk negative to yourself when you are talking about future results and future ways of being. I have failed up to this point is looking at the past. It's looking at the ways that I've been in the past. It's a past doing, it's a past result, it's a current result from the past. I am a failure is a future projection into my future, right? And so it is not good to say I am a failure, but it is good to say I have failed. The difference is that we can look back and we can acknowledge the reality of our outcomes. But when we project into the future, we don't want to put that negative self-talk on ourselves. Why is that? Well, because we have the ability to change. We have the ability to get 1% better. We have the ability to produce different results in our lives, right? I have failed in a lot of areas of my life. I've been a failure in many areas of my life, but I don't have to be a failure in the future because I can make a change. Okay? In order to get better, we have to have honest observations about our results and the actions that got us there. This is not just good to do, it is a requirement if we want to get better. You guys still tracking with me? Put a one in the chat. Is this hitting for anybody? Awesome. Cool. So the S in closer is to strategize. Now we've got the result. We've logged the results. We've observed the numbers. We've observed what has happened to get us to this point. The next step is to strategize on how to get better. So I want to give you a few tips here on how to do this. Look for leverage. Where do my numbers suggest that I can get outsized results with small effort? This is leverage, guys. Maybe a small change here can produce massive results. And when we have logged, when we've observed, we're able to see these patterns. We're able to see these leverage points in our life. Number two is to spot opportunities and weaknesses. Look for your strengths. Look for your weaknesses. Do you want to focus on the weaknesses? Do you want to focus on the strengths? Right? This is kind of number three is decide what matters, right? Where do we want to focus on? There used to be, when I was growing up, there was a whole kind of way of thinking about when a student is doing poorly in one subject or they're not very good in this area, we want to boost them up, we want to improve them. There's a new line of thinking, Gary Vee kind of popularized this, is do not worry about your weaknesses. Do not worry about changing your personality, your nature, as much as doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on your strengths. So you have to decide what matters, right? That's a choice for everybody individually to make on themselves. Do I want to work on my weaknesses? Do I want to work on my strengths? Or a combination of the two, right? The next thing is to run what if scenarios, right? Imagine different possibilities. What would happen if in my business, for example, I reduce my expenses by 10%? What if I shift my marketing budget into my highest ROI items, right? What if I put more effort into this area versus this area? So run what if scenarios and play it out in your head or on paper, even better. And the last is to ask possibility questions. Ask possibility questions. Some people will say, I can't afford that or that's not possible. But when you train yourself to ask possibility questions, how can I afford that? How can I make this possible? Who do I need to meet to make this possible? Everything will change for you. Possibility questions are key. Now, the E in the closer framework is execute. We have to execute on the strategy we put in place, right? Sorry, guys. Let me grab my links here real quick. We have to execute, right? This is pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to dive into this too much. We have to execute. None of this matters if we don't actually put these things in place, right? So we've got a result, we've logged, we've observed, we've strategized on way to improve. Now it's time to actually go and put it into action and do the thing. And the last step is to repeat this whole process. Now, at the beginning, I said the C stands for commission. It also stands for checkpoint because as we begin to repeat this process, it's not a one-time thing. It's a checkpoint along the whole journey. So you can think about like NASCAR, right? They race around a track. It's not just one lap. Every lap is a new checkpoint. And every time we go through this process and we get a new result, we start this process again, right? And this is where the improvement happens because this is how we get 1% better because every time we get a result, we can start to see what those results were, what the actions were. We can begin to objectively measure it. We can continuously strategize on improving. And then when we execute, we get that small improvement. Or maybe we go backwards a little bit, right? But the overall goal is the long-term improvement. And so the repeating process is very key. Now, guys, earlier I mentioned I made a little a little ebook on this. That link's not going to work. I'm sorry, guys. Let me resend that link. We did a little ebook on this that kind of summarizes what I talked about today, right? So this is the closer ebook. If you guys want that, go to that link, put in your stuff, and I'll email it to you. Um, but this is a framework for continuous improvement. This is a framework for continuous improvement. And I want to tie something in. I'm going to wrap it up right here. And then I want to open it up for conversation or questions. But you guys may or may not have picked up on this. When we look at the closer framework, the C, the commission, the result, the outcome, that's the have. To close is the do. To close is an action, it's a verb. But a closer is a type of person, it is a way of being. And so if we just do one, we're just going to have. If we just do the close, we're just going to do. But when we become a closer and we repeat this process over and over and over again, it changes the type of person we become. So with that being said, Kimberly, thank you for downloading. Steve, thank you. Rosario, I get text messages when you guys download it. So thank you guys for doing that. I appreciate you all. I want to open it up today for, or now, for anybody that has any questions or comments, any takeaways from today. Don, thank you for downloading. I appreciate you.
Hey, Christian, it's Diane Hall. I had
What's
a
up, Diane?
question. You know, that Eat Myth Revisited book, I have it and I've never read it, but I wanted to ask you, did you do any of the mentoring programs that go with it, or is that just something you read yearly, like you said? Have you
Yeah,
done more with it?
I did not do the mentoring programs. The book's pretty comprehensive. Um, it's it's good. I haven't done the mentoring, but I've implemented what I've learned in the book. It's a
That's
very
awesome.
interesting book.
Thank you so much. And I'm downloading your link right now as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know you guys are on Zoom right now, so if you can't download it and you want to, maybe just put like a one in the chat, and we'll make sure you get that link. Does anybody else have anything else they want to say? We're going to close it down early today. Michelle, Diane, Jackie, Jennifer, thank you. Thank you for downloading. This is a key, guys. If you want to get better, there are steps that you can take to do it. You don't have to guess. You don't have to wing it. You can implement these systems into your life, into your processes, into your relationship, into your business, into your fitness, into your finances, and you can make improvements, but it always helps. It always helps to have a framework and a system to do that.
Hey, Christian, this is Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
I just wanted to say thank you for this morning. You gave us a lot of just very methodical key principles to follow. And sometimes we get so busy in the busyness of what we're doing, we think we're making improvements, but we're maybe stuck in the beginning part rather than looking at what we've already done. How can we be better? So this is a good reminder today. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate your insight. Yeah, that's we get stuck in the grind, right? We get stuck in the ruts of life. I have this analogy. If you think about driving down a dirt road and you drive that same road every single day, what ends up happening is you start to form ruts, right? You start to form ruts, and eventually those ruts get deeper and deeper and deeper, and you get to a point where most people live their entire lives. You get to a point where those ruts are so deep, you could actually take your hands off the steering wheel, and the ruts will keep you on track for that same track you've taken every single day. Those same ruts that have dug down will keep you on track. And so it gets harder and harder to make changes as those ruts get deeper. And this is what happens with habits, right? This is what happens with habits is we build this way of being, this way of doing. And for most people, their life is lived on autopilot. Yeah, Don, go ahead and come off.
Um, Hello, thank you for today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love this whole matter of fact, I own a real estate brokerage and my meeting's tomorrow. So hopefully your handout will come in handy because I was looking for the idea this week. Um,
Awesome.
and I love all of this, and I've owned my own business for 42 years, and it seems I love the whole closer, how you've done this. My question to you is, you're an independent, self-employed person. Accountability. Do you have, I know everything's systems, but sometimes are you involved with other people? Are you just able to keep yourself in closer mode all the time?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is something I've struggled with a lot. Brock has been an incredible friend and mentor to me. I'm so blessed and fortunate to have met Brock 3 years ago now at this point, almost 4 years ago. So I bounce ideas off him. He keeps me accountable. Um, my wife helps keep me accountable as well. And I have a system also that's I use Trello and my calendar to help keep me accountable. Trello has been a giant help for me. I have a video on this, guys, as well. If you guys want that, we can send that out in a link. Using Trello, just kind of my day-to-day life. I did a whole video on YouTube. Um, but yeah, that's the hard part, right? It's staying
Hmm.
accountable. Staying
Yeah, I
accountable.
live my life
So
by Trello as well, but it
yeah,
seems that there's no one, you have to, like you have Brock, you have to get that outside. I was just wondering
yeah.
how many outside influences it needs to build you to obviously the great entrepreneur you are.
Yeah, I think that a very important thing is to have someone that's willing to be honest with you. That's one thing, Brock and I are very honest with each other in our relationship. We're friends, but we're also able to tell each other when we're messing up and to tell each other when we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing or not doing things we should be doing. So it's very important to have that accountability partner. And the hard thing about this, guys, is a lot of people don't like, and I know we're up at 45, so I'll close out with this. A lot of people don't like confrontation, right? They feel there's this tension when there's confrontation, but it's very important with an accountability partner to have someone that's willing to confront you. And people think, oh, if I confront, it's kind of mean, right? It's kind of nasty. It's not the best feeling in the world. But the most loving thing you can do for someone is to confront them with the truth, because they cannot make progress if they're not confronted with the truth. And so if you're looking for an accountability partner, there's plenty of people on this call. They're here all the time. Reach out to some of the people in this group. This is a great group of people to be associated with. And so, Dawn, if you're looking for somebody in your office or somebody in this group might be a great option for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Anybody else? Any last things, or are we good to shut it down? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate you all, and thank you guys for downloading that book, the ebook. If you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out. You'll get my email and my phone number there. So you all have a excellent day, and I will see you guys on the next show. Talk to you later.